Hi everyone, today I just want to talk about something that came into my mind just thinking about these videos and the YouTube channel, and one of the things that used to really frustrate me and I used to do, and that was the party for 1 until 5 in the morning. And I just always remember the next morning thinking, why would I do this? Why would I continue the party myself, and end up not quitting or going home when everyone else did. And it was just such a big annoyance in my life. And for those of you who haven't watched the videos in the past, I originally quit in 2017, and I quit for 5 years and just pretty much smashed life, I guess. Was doing well, was fit, got promotions at work, etc. And then 2022, I stupidly thought that I could moderate again and become this kind of moderate drinker, and ended up failing, of course. And it was July this year, 2025, I ended up quitting again. And that's been about, 4 or 5 months I've been off it. And, that's me back on the straight and narrow, never going back off it. And to be honest, alcohol's just like a hobby I used to do and I don't do anymore. I really, really can't see, and hopefully I'll never get back on it. But I remember back in the day, one of the worst habits I had was having a party for 1, and a lot of times it would just, it would normally be a Friday night. I think it would start, and I'd finish work at whatever 4 or 5 o'clock, and a lot of the times I worked from home. I'm back in the office mostly now, which is good, and good seeing folk, etc. I can get a bit kind of cabin feverish at home, but I used to just, you would end up having drinks in the flat, a couple of Guinnesses, and then before you know it, get a bottle of vodka or something from the local shop and just kind of sit there, and before you knew it, it was 3 in the morning, just watching YouTube, watching kind of basically crap on TV, and it just felt like you would blink and it would be over. And the Friday night ones at the time, I guess, weren't that bad because you're going through your whole, looking back it is, of course, but like at the time you're kind of giving it the old, I've had a hard week, I deserve a blowout sort of thing. And at the time you would, like I say, time would just pass so fast, and you wouldn't really think that you're doing anything bad. And I used to wake up in the Saturday morning kind of just so frustrated with myself, just a pointless session at home. My partners went to bed, I'm just kind of sitting there watching Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares seasons, or highlights of the darts, or funny videos from 3 years ago or something like that, and music from back in the day. And it just kind of seems so pointless. But I think that was a frustration. But I think the party for ones that were the kind of worst would be, it would normally be, say, a Saturday. And I was always, as I always say in my other videos, I was always just a kind of quintessential British binge drinker. Just, a Friday night, Saturday night, not even really a Sunday, because I knew I had work the next day and there's no way on earth I was getting up in the morning. But weddings, funerals, any excuse, that was me, kind of on the booze. And I remember on the Saturdays I would go to like the rugby, I'd meet a mate, or go to the football, for example, or there'd be something on. But you know what it's like these days, I'm 42 now. Back in the day you could get like 20 of yous out probably, or 10 of yous out in a split second to go somewhere. But everyone's got kids these days and other commitments, and folk live in different countries and cities, so it's a bit different. So even like, say, going back to this year in summer before I quit drinking in July, we'd maybe just say go to the Six Nations rugby, and we'd meet before it, crack open a drink at 12 o'clock or whatever, and then go to the rugby, and you have a great laugh there. It would, it'd be booze there, and you're allowed to drink in your seat, which was great. If we went to the football, you're not allowed to drink here in the UK in a football match. So it's pubs before, and then you're probably dying for a pint during the game. Then afterwards, you're in the pint. But the mate I'd normally go to the football and rugby with, and if there was a couple more there, they would all have to head home at like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and that would be it. The kind of night out for them, the night out for them's done. But for me, you know, it's just kind of getting started, and it's just such a pointless and stupid mentality, I think. We'd normally say just finish the rugby down at Murrayfield or an away game, get dropped off back in town or on the train, and then on the way home just find a pub, and I would just kind of get a seat, maybe normally just stick in my earphones and nail a few more pints of Guinness, and if not, you know, kind of get on the vodka and sodas. Used to drink them actually because the hangovers were way less than if you're drinking like vodka and cokes and vodka and whatever. And you know, you used to kind of sit there, and then before you know it, I've probably spent a pointless 20-30 quid. Because in Edinburgh, you know, a drink's about £6, and you're eating bags of crisps as well. And you know, if you're having little vodka and mixers yourself, I mean, they're £6 a pop. And like I say, before you know it, you've spent 30-40 quid, and you're just sitting in the pub. And it would normally get a bit busier, and I'd be like, I can't believe, I don't want to be here, kind of thing. And it's probably because I knew I kind of looked a bit sad, I guess, just sitting in the corner. Maybe I didn't, maybe I'm overthinking it, but you know, I'm just sitting there in the corner myself, my earphones in, listening to tunes, drinking. And then I would go home, and I would always have the plan, you know, will I go past the shop to get booze? No, that's me done. And I knew I maybe had a bit at home left, you know, end a bottle of this or a few cans of something, and you know, this would be like a Saturday night, you know, it's fine, I'll just have a couple and then go to bed. But you know what it's like, you have a couple more and then you start getting the taste for it. And one thing I really wish they'd never invented was the Uber Eats delivery. So in the UK, you can, I'm sure like loads of countries you can do it, you can buy stuff from the supermarket, so you can just go in and buy stuff that's really overpriced. You have to pay the delivery fee. So 9 p.m. I'd be like, I'm going to run out of booze at maybe 11 o'clock. This could be a disaster. I'd end up spending another 30-40 quid on, like, you know, some vodka and mixers and a pizza or something, stuff that probably would have cost me 20 quid in the shop, but just being lazy and kidding myself on. And then I would just sit there until whatever it is, 1 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, just having a party for one, you know, just pointlessly boozing. And, you know, kind of what a sad kind of night, I think. And of course, when you go to work on the Monday, everyone's asking, oh, how was it? And you're like, oh, it was a good weekend, it was great, and kind of pretty chilled and stuff like that. And chilled in the sense that you didn't do anything energy-wise, but I don't think it was chilled kind of sitting there on the couch yourself. And the next day, I think even on the Sunday, and, you know, let's say you're in this cycle, you know you're in this cycle, and then you go through all the same rigmarole as always. Kind of like, I can't believe I sat up myself Friday and Saturday. Why didn't I just go home when everybody else went home on the Sunday? Why did I have to go past that pub on the way home? Why did I have to spend 40 quid at Uber Eats? Why couldn't I just went home and just, you know, like everyone else, had some food, you know, and then just went to bed at a reasonable time? But it's like lunchtime now, I'm struggling, I've got a hangover. Like I said, I didn't even really do anything exciting, but still spent loads of money. Of course, the rugby and that was great, or the football game was great, but the night was crap. Friday was crap, just sitting there, like I say, drinking drink after drink pointlessly, and it's just something that's just a waste of time. And I just hope, let's say, one of those things I don't miss is just, like I say, these pointless party for ones. And I bet you there's so many folk out there that do them as well. I mean, I can't be the only one that had the party for one. I'm sure there's different variations of it, but like I say, it would normally be a few in the pub and then kind of coming back and then having a party for one in the flat, or a party for, as soon as my partner's going to bed, that's me kind of still up. I'll have one more, and then before you know it, it's 5 a.m. Just pointless. Anyway, thanks for listening again, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.